Hey everyone, you're probably wondering why gameplay is in this video. Well, I decided to add that in the intro and outro just for fun. Also, yeah, I didn't come up with this course because I'm such an unoriginal twat. The person that I got this idea from putting gameplay in my movie videos was Fritzky. His channel probably will be in the link in the description unless I'm just too stupid and don't put it in there. Yeah, he's also on my channel recommendations, I'm pretty sure, and my subscriptions. So yeah, just go check him out. I highly recommend you do because yeah, he doesn't really do gameplay videos anymore, but yeah, I highly recommend his channel. Yeah, so without further ado, let's do the top 5 Scorsese movies with my friend Dominic. Hey man, how you doing?
What's up guys, my name is Dominic and I run the channel Dominic Talks Movies, and thank you so much Gavin for having me on your channel, and I can't wait to talk some Martin Scorsese.
Okay, so well, thank you Dominic so much for joining this. I don't know why you joined this garbage channel, but thank you. Also, check out his channel. Link better be in the description, future Gavin. And yeah, what are your honorable mentions, man?
Now I got a few honorable mentions to rattle off. First, Goodfellas, an amazing movie. I just didn't connect with the characters all that much. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, definitely one of his most underrated films. Mean Streets, and also The Departed.
Now, keep in mind with my honorable mentions, I haven't seen nearly as many Scorsese films as Dominic, so a lot of the ones that are like well known or whatever, I just haven't seen. Not being lazy or whatever, I just haven't seen them, and so I just didn't bother. But yeah, eventually I'll probably do an update list of this when I'll like do like a top 10 maybe or something. Maybe even eventually I'll rank at least most of them. But yeah, I'll give a couple honorable mentions to Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and Aviator.
Coming in at my number 5 spot, I have Taxi Driver. Now, this is easily one of his more popular films, and it is absolutely for a reason. This film is really, really well made. There's some great cinematography in the mix. You got a great performance from Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle. He is one of Martin Scorsese's best characters that I've personally seen, and it really dives deep into some great themes of sort of mental illness and mental health, and how this is affecting Travis's life and whatnot. And there's honestly some stuff about like the political plot lines definitely actually worked for the film. And this is one of those cases where Martin Scorsese is such a phenomenal director that you have such an amazing movie like Taxi Driver in my number 5 spot. And I really don't have all too many flaws with it, other than the fact that I just like the other 4 films more.
Now, my number 5. This is a film not many people talk about, and I think it deserves to be talked about 100%, and that film is Silence. Andrew Garfield gives an outstanding performance and is just perfectly just cast. I mean, Cars said this, and I completely agree with it. He said that he thinks that no one could have played this character besides Andrew Garfield, and I honestly completely agree with that. He just plays the role perfectly. It's also amazingly shot. I don't agree with him on saying when you see mist you can feel it in your face, but it looks really well and looks really just very well done. Also, honestly, he said he doesn't start really much of a religious discussion. I disagree with that as well. I think it really does just start this sort of religious discussion about stuff. It doesn't feel on any sides really at all, and I think that's just a perfect way to just show religion. I don't consider myself insanely religious, but I don't know much about it at all. So it's like it's not like they really show or dive deep into like the religion and stuff. They don't really dive deep into that. They dive deep into how it can affect people and just how this would start, and you really just root for the characters and want them to succeed at the end. My only really main issue is it felt like we were building to some big build up and payoff at the end, but it just kind of ends, and I really didn't like that. But besides that, it's an amazing film and one of the best of 2016.
My number 4 spot, I have After Hours. Now, if you want to see Martin Scorsese get weird, then watch this movie, because this is one of the weirdest and strangest movies I've ever seen. It really encapsulates the feeling of being up after hours, as the film suggests, and sort of up in the early morning. And it's honestly really cool to see this guy just fail over and over and over again. and at a point it does feel like it gets redundant, but at the same time, like, it's exactly what you want to happen in this film, because you don't want anything to go this guy's way, because you see everything going wrong, and it's honestly kind of crazy and really funny how, like, horrible this guy's luck is, and just to see everything just, like, fall apart for this guy in this one night is just really, really entertaining, really, really crazy, and also is just wonderfully directed and great visually.
Number 4 is Raging Bull. My positives are the fantastic performances by Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro. They have great chemistry and they play off of each other fantastically. Also, the editing is really well done, especially in the boxing fights. I think that's where it really shines very well, and that looks great. I also like the fact that it's a black and white, I don't know, I just like that kind of feel. When movies do that, like Ed Wood or Raging Bull, it just looks really cool to me. It's, in my opinion, the best shot Scorsese movie, at least out of the ones I've seen. I've heard some people say that Silence is the best shot. I think that Raging Bull is better shot personally, and I absolutely just love this movie. Martin Scorsese is just great at taking these characters who are just like kind of just people. Like, they're just people. Even if they're jerks or whatever, they're not like a hero or anything. They're not like, you can't even really, I don't even know if you can really call this guy much of a protagonist because he's just so awful. But he's just great at doing that kind of stuff. It's just like following people, not heroes or anything, not like Superman or something. You're just following a person, and I think that's part of what makes this movie so good. I've heard some people say the complexities of Rage are amazing. I wish they explored that more. I felt like they kind of just shoved that too far under the rug, because it's hard. It's really, you have to really dissect it. I'm not saying it should be like in your face or anything, but I think there should be like a mix of where it's not too subtle, but it's not too much in your face. Just a good balance.
Coming in at number 3, I have The Last Temptation of Christ. Now, this is one that I think a lot of people overlook for sure, because a lot of people don't like films about religion, about Jesus, about, the concept of Christ and whatnot. But this one is definitely an exception to those kinds of films, where those go for more, I guess, historical accuracy. This film does have some of that historical accuracy, but at the same time, it is painting Jesus in a picture where it kind of sees him as a normal person, and kind of it goes to try and understand him and what he had to go through in his struggle and his internal struggle for trying to find his identity and who he was. And I think that's like a really cool idea of someone as revered as Jesus was, to kind of see him as a normal human being with problems and emotions. And I thought that was an amazing idea from Martin Scorsese. Let alone, this is one of his most amazing looking films ever. It is so beautiful visually, and Willem Dafoe just gives one of the best performances I've ever seen. It is such a great performance. Honestly, all the supporting cast is also great. Everything about this movie is just amazing, and if you have been avoiding this one for some reason, I highly recommend you check it out, because it's unlike any other religious film that I've ever seen.
Number 3 is The King of Comedy. This is a Scorsese film that normally I see on the lower end of a top 10, or just not even in the list at all, which I really don't understand, because this is a really fantastic film. I think Robert De Niro gives debatably his best performance I've seen from him. I think it's definitely up there with his performance in Raging Bull, honestly. And his other performances, and his performance in Goodfellas, it wasn't the best thing ever. It was real, actually. That's actually a pretty good performance the more I think about it. But yeah, going back, I'm getting off topic. The King of Comedy is a fantastic movie. Honestly, this is just like the darkest and most twistically comedic Scorsese film I've seen. Because it's not, like, the thing is, it's like in the climax, you're laughing out loud. Not because they're telling jokes, but because you're just like, what is happening right now? If you probably know what I mean when I explain that. But it's just like a dark, twisted type comedy that's odd and funny in its own way. Also, Scorsese made this touch where it's not, you don't really know if he's actually, if he's like actually, some of the stuff he's imagined, some of this at the end, when you don't know if he's really imagining it or not. And I think it's a really cool touch that they add to the film when they do that, because I just find that very interesting. just the way, I don't know, I just find that pretty interesting, the way they did that. And there's either two ends of the argument. Normally, there's either the people that think that he actually did escape the prison, he was successful, or the people that think it's just all in his head. Personally, I'm more on the side. I want to believe in the side that he was successful in that. But it's really hard to figure out which argument, because there's multiple pieces of evidence where you could debate either argument. And I just find that really interesting. This is the first Scorsese movie I've ever seen. It was my introduction to his work, and I absolutely love it.
Coming in at number 2, we have The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, I really can't explain how chaotic this film is to you without you actually seeing the movie. It is honestly just all over the place. This movie feels like it is on crack, like these characters are. It's really, really crazy. Leo gives one of my favorite performances. It was such a great performance. Probably my favorite of his. Margot Robbie also gives a pretty great performance. Jonah Hill gives a great performance. All around the board, everyone gives great performances. The pacing, it just feels so fast and like in your face, but it works. It doesn't feel pretentious, and it just honestly works perfectly, and it encapsulates this entire story exactly how I think it would have actually played out in real life. And so, to be honest with you, this one is just a phenomenal movie and just one of my favorite films of all time, period. So it's gotta be up here in my Scorsese ranking.
My number 2 is going to be Shutter Island. I am with the minority on this one being in my top 2, because it has like a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes. Most people seem to put it underneath the top 10 of Martin Scorsese's career. Most people don't seem to like it as much, but I guess I gotta explain myself and how much I absolutely love this film. I think what makes this film work for me so well is the atmosphere with Shutter Island. It's just so perfect, it's hypnotizing, and it's so interesting to watch, and my eyes were just sucked in to this interesting and intriguing world. Leonardo DiCaprio gives one of the greatest performances I have probably ever seen, probably maybe top 30 or 40. It's just that good. This is my favorite Leo performance, honestly, because he's just, you don't even realize that you're just going as insane as Leo's characters, which I'm guessing I'm quoting Carson Ronquist again in this video, but yeah, it's just that fantastic. And also the twist at the end, I won't spoil it, but it is very unpredictable, and I did not expect it to go that route, and just, I absolutely love this film. It's tension-filled. It's the closest Scorsese has ever done to horror, and I absolutely love that.
Number 1, I have the king of comedy. Now, this is a bit of an unpopular opinion. Most people would say, they like Goodfellas or they like Taxi Driver the best. But my favorite Scorsese film is the king of comedy, because not only is it really, really well made, the visuals are really great. Robert De Niro gives a fantastic performance in the lead role as Rupert Pupkin. Just such a great performance. And I think this is one of the films that tackles themes of mental illness and mental health in some of the most mature yet kind of playful and accessible ways possible. You see this movie and it kind of seems wacky and crazy and fun, and then when you go in, you deep dive into the film, you see Rupert is a deeply flawed person. He can be very relatable, but also not relatable whatsoever sometimes, and I think that makes for a really cool dynamic when he's interacting with other characters. And honestly, this is just a phenomenal movie, and I think a lot of people don't see how well made it actually is, and it definitely is, but then I think also the social commentary and themes are really what elevates this film above the other ones, in my opinion. And especially nowadays with everything being super important about mental health, which I am all on board for, this film really, really takes that to the next level, shows some great activism, and kind of brings light to this side of people that is are mentally ill or have that are mentally ill or whatever. And I think this film just really, really does that perfectly, and for that reason, it is my favorite Scorsese film.
Now, my number 1, okay, guys, don't get too mad at me. This is very, very controversial opinion, guys. My number 1 is Goodfellas. I know, okay? I'm so controversial here. But in all seriousness, It's Goodfellas. Come on, what can I add to this movie that hasn't been talked about before? The cast is fantastic. You have people like Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro. I forgot the guy who plays Henry Hill, but he's fantastic. I've heard people say that the main cast members apparently overshadow Henry Hill or whatever, but I don't agree with that at all. In fact, I think some people just say that because they're just big names in the title, and the person who plays Henry Hill isn't a big name. It's not like Robert De Niro plays him or whatever. But I've heard also some people say that there's no story, but it's going through somebody's life, and honestly, I think that's a lot more interesting than just having a straightforward point A to point B. It's going through someone's life. Scorsese just takes these characters, just takes a random character you wouldn't expect, and just somehow makes them our main lead, you know? Henry Hill isn't really a protagonist, honestly. He's more of a character we're following. And I think that's what a lot of Scorsese characters are like, such as Robert De Niro's performance in Raging Bull, Rupert Pumpkin from The King of Comedy. There's characters like that, and this one does that, and honestly, it just does it pretty well. I'm not a big fan of the narrative storytelling that Scorsese sometimes uses. Sometimes it can be a little annoying, sometimes it works. This one, it works brilliantly, and most of it is them narrating everything, and just the way, they just stylize it in a way where they tell it kind of like, I don't know, kind of like, Greek mythology, kind of like that in sort of a sense, where it's not like it's not like an extremely detailed book. I'll just use an example, like It's not like an extremely detailed book in that type of sense where it details things. It's more of kind of like, a Greek mythology book, the way they narrate it, and I think that's very interesting. Also, the editing is just fantastic, out of this world. I don't think the camera work is outstanding, but it's really well done. Oh, that was a really awful voice crack. But yeah, the dialogue is fantastic, the characters, it's perfectly written. It's not a perfect movie at all. The thing is, it's like, it felt like it just earned its runtime. Like, sometimes a Scorsese movie might be a bit overly long, but this one earned it perfectly. It earned its over 2 hours runtime, and yeah, I absolutely love this movie. Even when I watch Scorsese's other films, I don't think anything will ever beat this, because this movie is just that good. So you guys, that is the video. If you are new to my channel, maybe consider subscribing. I got to 150 today, I think, and at the time recording this video, and that was really fantastic. Thank you guys so much. If we get to 200, I'm planning on doing a Q&A where you guys answer questions in my comment section and I answer them. But yeah, enough with me babbling about YouTuber garbage. If you want to check out Dominic's channel, the link will be in the description. I highly recommend you do. He has some fantastic content. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.